Good evening and happy Tuesday. Tuesday, fun day Tuesday. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the final word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy, MattyB, on the call. As I mentioned, on this beautiful Tuesday night, December the 17th, 2024. And are you feeling good, Philadelphia? Are you feeling vindicated? Are you feeling relevant as your Philadelphia Eagles 12-2? Still the talk of the day, talk of the season, talk of your Philadelphia sports landscape. And I laid out a whole litany of reasons why I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl. But we'll continue the Eagles talk today because it's just relevant and it needs to be discussed. We have your day in Philadelphia sports history. We also have your of the night segment, your baseball card or your card review segment, and a whole lot more on this program. And of course, our the number 5 movie on MattyB's top 10 Christmas movie list of all time, as we are full speed ahead to that number 1 movie that will be debuted sometime, as I mentioned, somewhere in the December 23rd, 4th, 25th time frame, depending on where we're going to air, in terms of holiday programming. So we'll get number 5 out of the way tonight. And of course, your day in Philadelphia sports history. A lot to do and not much time to do it in. And I'm glad you're here for the ride. And for those of you keeping track, 58 days and counting until pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater and various other Major League Baseball spring training sites around the country, as we are all full speed ahead for the 2025 MLB season. And I guess with one, the Phillies, of course, continue to show every day more and more that they're going to run it back. As another big name off the list, Cody Bellinger today is rumored to be on his way to the Yankees. Big signing for the Yankees as they attempt to replace Juan Soto. So what is Dave Dombrowski's plan? Every night we come on, every night we talk about it, and every night we don't get any information. So stay tuned. Maybe more will happen. Maybe Santa brings something. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Christmas will be extra special for the Phillies this year, as God knows we need it. But let's get the show started off with your day in Philadelphia sports history. On this day in 1978, a very special event happened that would alter the course of Philadelphia sports forever. On this day in 1978, somewhere in Southern California, a boy was born upon the earth, a man or a child that would bring glory and victory to Philadelphia a little bit later on in his life. On this day in 1978, do I say it, the greatest second baseman in Phillies history? Chase Utley was born and altering the course of Philly sports history. Chase Utley, as I mentioned, I think is it safe to say he is the greatest second baseman in Phillies history? I don't really know of any other second baseman that hold a candle to him. I remember the ridiculousness of a couple of seasons ago when we talked about Bryson Stott, and the comparisons to Bryson Stott and Chase Utley were just absolutely ludicrous. And we've thankfully stopped talking about that because it's obviously not the same player in any stretch of the mind. But what Chase Utley did when he burst on the scene, and it's funny because Utley, Rollins, Howard, Hamels, Gavin Floyd too, Gio Gonzalez, I got to put those guys in that list too, were players that were in the Phillies farm system back in the late 90s, early 2000s that were coveted by other teams. Other organizations wanted these guys. And when the Phillies finally broke into relevance around 2001, 2002, and Ed Wade was being pressured to make that trade deadline deal that would kind of hopefully push the Phillies over the edge in those early 2000 seasons, he refused to part with those prospects. He refused to part with the Utleys and the Howards and the Floyds and the Hamels. He eventually parted with Floyd, but he refused to part with those assets. And of course, that came to fruition. And Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, what all those guys did from 2007 to 2011 was absolutely amazing for Phillies history. And I say the greatest period of Philadelphia sports or Philadelphia Phillies baseball, the greatest stretch run of Philadelphia Phillies history. I mean, that's debatable. You can go back to that mid 70s or that 77 to 83 run and kind of make an argument there. But, in recent history, the 07 to 2011 Phillies were something that maybe never happens again or maybe never shows up again. But Chase Utley, number one in like dead straight number one. Without Chase Utley, none of that happens. And I feel confident in saying that. I feel confident in saying that if we don't have Jimmy Rollins, I think we still have success. If we don't have Ryan Howard, I think we still have success. But we don't have Chase Utley. And if Chase Utley is not part of what happened here, I don't think we have any success. And on this day in 1978, he was born. And this year he'll be his second year of eligibility into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Hopefully this is the year. If not, I have no doubt that he will eventually get in at some point. And eventually, hopefully, sooner than later, number 26 is retired and hanging on the wall out in Ashburn Alley at Citizen Bank Park, where it rightfully belongs. But yeah, I mean, greatest second baseman in Phillies history, I think. Easy. I don't even think it's debatable. I don't think it's a discussion. You want to talk Manny Trio, maybe. That might be the only player that would hold a candle to him. Ryan Sandberg, of course, was never really, he didn't have his success as a Philly. He was traded. So all systems are clear. We talk about Mike Schmidt being the greatest player in Phillies franchise history. I'm not saying that Chase Utley is that level, but he's there. I mean, he's top 5, right? Chase Utley's top 5 Philly player of all time. And I think he's the best second baseman in franchise history. And I would even go as far as to say he's up there with the greatest second basemen that ever played. And the only thing that I think detracts away from that is that his career did not last as long as some of those other players, the Ryan Sandbergs, notably the Ryan Sandbergs of the world. If Utley would have had about 3 to 5 more years of solid, elite level play before his knees gave out, he might be a definite serious contention of the best second baseman ever to play the game. But the injuries will always kind of hamper him there. But what doesn't hamper him is the success at the biggest stage. He is a world champion. He's got the ring. Ryan Sandberg doesn't have a ring. So you can make a claim, and I think it's a valid argument of Chase Utley being the greatest second baseman of all time. And that all started on this day back in 1978, somewhere in Southern California, when Chase Utley was born. So happy birthday, Chase. Thank you for being part of what was a great Phillies career. You're an all-time Philly. I hope that your place in baseball elitedom is secured sooner than later with your inevitable admittance into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the Baseball Hall of Fame voting for the class of 2025 is ongoing as we speak. The deadline for all the sports writers who are part of that to submit their ballots is on New Year's Eve. And we should know sometime in early January who is part of the class of 2025. Now, we already know Dick Allen and Dave Parker are going in, but they were like legacy guys. They were voted on by the Legends Committee. It's a different type of situation. So we will know the actual class of 2025 here in about a month. I give it about a month. We'll know about that. So fingers crossed for Chase Utley, as hopefully he finds his way, deservingly so, into the Baseball Hall of Fame, where he belongs. And he can be enshrined next to Richie Allen. And that would be great, because the last time that we had really, I don't recognize Scott Rowland as a Philly in this whole situation. And I don't recognize Scott Rowland's place in the Hall of Fame either. But the last time the Phillies had any real good, solid representation at Cooperstown on induction day was in 95, when Mike Schmidt and Richie Ashburn went in. So the trend is set. It's already happened. Do we get another double Philly induction in July? Richie Allen's going in. He's already been voted in. Chase Utley round that out. And would it be even better if we get a trifecta with Jimmy Rollins on the ballot as well? So that would be an all-time Philadelphia Phillies day if Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Richie Allen all find their way into Canton or into Cooperstown. I said Canton into Cooperstown. I got Canton on the brain. Something happened earlier today, so I'm thinking of Ohio. But if we can get all three of them on the way to Cooperstown, that would definitely be something for Phillies fans everywhere to take solace in. And I would definitely be front row center. And It's a Wrap Sports would be front row center in covering that event, if that's the case. And if we get Chase Utley in there, It's a Wrap Sports will be front row. And I'm pretty certain we're going to be involved in the Richie Allen thing too. So anyway you look at it, It's a Wrap Sports will be making a sojourn to Cooperstown, New York, which is not such a big thing for me. I work in Cooperstown in the summers, so it's literally 2 minutes from where I work. And so I'm looking forward to a great summer of 2025, especially if Chase Utley can find his rightful spot into Cooperstown alongside Rich Allen. But happy birthday, Chase Utley, born on this day in 1978, and that is your day in Philadelphia Phillies sports history. Yeah, so as I mentioned at the top of the program, 58 days now until pitchers and catchers report, and Cody Bellinger now is on his way, traded from, don't forget, Bellinger was not, I repeat, not a free agent move, okay? Just want everybody to know that. He was not a free agent move. He was traded today from the Cubs to the Yankees for right-hand pitcher Cody Petit, P-O-T-E-E-T. Never heard of him. He was 3-0 last year with a 2.22 ERA and 16 strikeouts for the Yankees. I think he's more of a fringe type guy, or maybe a relief pitcher. I have no idea who he is. He's a starting pitcher, so he must have came up late in the season. But 2.22 ERA, 3-0 with 16 strikeouts for the Yankees last year, is now a member of the Chicago Cubs. As Cody Bellinger takes his 266 batting average in 2024, his 18 home runs and his 78 RBIs from the north side of Chicago to the Bronx, New York, as he'll be a Yankee next year. And the Yankees, of course, also added Max Fried earlier in the week, or today it actually became official as Fried passed his physical 8-year contract. Max Fried, 11-10 last year with a 3.25 ERA and 166 strikeouts for the Braves, is now a Yankee as he joins Cody Bellinger in the Bronx. So the Yankees are trying to restock and recomp the loss of what's his face? The loss of Juan Soto. Other moves today. Emmanuel Valdez was traded today for a minor league pitcher. Joe. Oh wait, I already talked about that. Oh, here we are. There we go. Tomoyuki Sugano, the starting pitcher from the Japanese league, signed a 1-year contract with Baltimore. Carson Kelly, the catcher from Texas, is now in Chicago on a 2-year deal. Brian Dela Cruz is going to Atlanta from Pittsburgh, so there's 21 more home runs added to that Brave lineup as the Phillies continue to sit pat. Dela Cruz batted .233 last year with 21 homers and 68 RBIs for the Pirates. He now is in Atlanta on a 1-year deal. And I mentioned the Cody Petit, Max Fried, and Cody Bellinger moves as well. And there you have, you're up to date now on your hot stove information for the season. I didn't play the cool music, so I apologize for that. But we kind of went into an impromptu hot stove report based on the day in Philadelphia sports history with Chase Utley's birthday. So kind of added an impromptu hot stove report. But there you have it. And what are the Phillies doing? What is Dave Dombrowski's plan? What is he planning on doing? What is the modus operandi here for Dave Dombrowski as more and more players fall off the board? Cody Bellinger was traded. Moves are being made from a lot of different aspects. Have the Phillies lost their pecking order in the NL East? I mean, they went from last year being the potential best team in the league, obviously the best team in the NL East, top 2, top 3 in the NL, but then based on what happened last year, they come off the field out of the first round or second round of the playoffs in a very haphazard, series against the Mets where they really didn't seem like they cared. And all these moves are being made around them. And where did the Phillies stand right now in the NL East? Let's start with the NL East. The Mets. Let's talk the Mets. The Mets got significantly better with the addition of Juan Soto. The Mets have made a few other moves. The Mets have some younger players that they're betting on striking lightning in the bottle again. Mark Vientos being one of those players. Are the Mets now a better team than the Phillies? I mean, you make a case the Mets were a better team than the Phillies when they came off the field last year because the Mets eliminated the Phillies. So are the Phillies back to being the third best team in the National League East, with only the Nationals being worse than the Phillies? I think a case can be made for that. The Braves have made some moves. The Braves are going to get some players back. Fried's coming back. Acuna, or not Fried, but what's his name? Strider, Acuna, all will be back. I mean, do the Braves regain their top spot in the National League East, or are the Mets now the team to be in that division? But where do the Phillies come out in the National League East? Are they just a slight better than the Nationals right now? Are they not as good as the Mets or Braves? You would think that they're not, based on what you've seen coming off the field at the end of the 24 season and through the first months or a couple months of the free agency period. The Phillies have been very quiet. There's been some reports that, Dave Dombrowski has kind of overvalued Alec Bohm, as a couple trades that have leaked out that the Phillies were involved in that didn't happen because the value that the Phillies wanted in return for Alec Bohm was too much. Where do the Phillies fall into this whole thing of the National League East? I know we got a whole, off-season period left. I'm not saying that the season's starting tomorrow, but when you look at things right now, how concerned should Phillies fans be with the way this team ended last season, with the improvements of the other two teams in the division, and the lack of improvements by the Phillies? These are interesting questions that, as we get deeper into free agency and no moves are being made, are starting to become more and more concerning. As far as the Phillies' place in the National League, where is that now, too? Are the Phillies better than? They're obviously not better than the world champion Dodgers. You're not, because they're the world champions. They won it all. Are they better than the Padres? Right? Are they better than the Diamondbacks? Are they better than the Padres? Are they better than the Brewers? Do the Cardinals, with a healthier season, hopefully, they were beset with injuries last year. Do the Cardinals edge them out? Are the Reds, the young up-and-coming team that they always seem to start out the season hot, are they a better team than the Phillies? Are the Pirates a better? I mean, where do the Phillies fall in the pecking order of the National League? I say right now they're like middle of the pack. Top 7, maybe top 8. So, and the question that really just drives me up a wall, and the question that I think a lot of Eagle fans or Phillies fans are having a hard time coming to grips with, and it's a legitimate question that you should have a hard time coming to grips with: is it even possible and remotely feasible that Phillies run it back? I mean, how much of a slap in the face is that to Phillies fans? How much of a slap in the face to the city of Philadelphia is Dave Dombrowski and running back the Phillies in 2024? How do Philly fans react to that? And how does Dave Dombrowski, I guess more importantly, how does Dave Dombrowski justify running it back in 2024 based on what we saw happen last year, or 2025, based on what we saw happen last year and the year before that? How do we justify that? How do the Phillies justify that? And how does Dombrowski justify that? And what, if any, are the repercussions of that if they don't make the playoffs next season, or if they get off to a really slow start? Does Rob Thompson feel the heat of that? Does Rob Thompson get fired? And if he gets fired, is it a just firing because Dombrowski hasn't done anything to assist his manager in fielding a better team? These are great questions that I honestly wasn't prepared and didn't think I'd have to talk about or ask heading into Christmas. I thought we would be at least 1, maybe 3 moves into this free agency period with a major splash and two very competent pieces of additions so far for the Phillies. And so far we got one, and you can make a case that Jordan Romero, that's a little bit of a reach coming back from the injury. So you can make a case for the fact that the Phillies really haven't done anything yet that screams to a team that feels like their window is closing. And what about the arrogance of that? Does Dave Dombrowski actually think that this team is okay? That last year was some sort of, blip on something that couldn't happen again? Are we doomed for another year of Kyle Schwarber leading off? Bryson Stott batting fifth? Bullpen by committee? All the things that did not work last year or the year before that or the year before that, are we ready to see that again? How much more do you need to see? Does the regression in 23 of losing in the NLCS and then the regression of losing in the second round in the NLDS in 24, is that not enough of a trend to signal it's time for a change with the way the roster is constructed in Philadelphia? Is it going to take not making the playoffs at all in 2025 for Dave Dombrowski to make some moves? And you got two big contracts getting ready to fall off the books at the end of next season. JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber both will be free agents at the end of the 2025 season. How much more do you need to see that this might not be the right recipe for winning for the Phillies? As more and more names come off the board. Cody Bellinger traded today from the Cubs to the Yankees. Max Fried going to the Yankees. Juan Soto signing on with the Mets. There's some names. There's a lot of names left. Bregman's still out there. Pete Alonso's still out there. There's some names out there. And the Phillies still have a chance. They still have a chance. Corbin Burns is still out there. So other notables, Anthony Santander is out there. Jack Flaherty is out there. Tanner Scott, Shane Bieber. Oh, no, actually, he resigned. And Christian Walker, who declined his qualifying offer from the Diamondbacks, are all still available, big name-wise, in the free agent market. Are the Phillies in play, for any of these guys? And how much is it a slap in the face to Phillies fans if we don't make a move? Inquiring minds want to know, and I want to know. And we'll have to wait and see as we get through the rest of this offseason. But Phillies right now standing, holding to their guns of no moves as we get ready to celebrate Christmas in 58 days now until pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater. Hold on, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But there's my little baseball adage for the night. So I guess now it's I'm not really. I'm actually feeling a little bit under the weather tonight. I don't know if it's a cold or if it's just the depression of the the shorter days. But I'm having a hard time mustering up the strength to get into the Eagles tonight. But I am going to talk about the Eagles because it has to be talked about. I went on a very epic rant last night about how I don't believe the Eagles are a Super Bowl contending. Again, I want to stop saying Super Bowl contending because that's not what I mean. I think they are a Super Bowl contending team, a Super Bowl champion. I don't think that they are. I don't think they have what it takes ultimately to win a Super Bowl. And do I think they could potentially find their way into the Super Bowl? Yeah, I could. I could see that. Would I be surprised if they were in the Super Bowl this year? I would actually be a little bit surprised, depending on what their path to the Super Bowl was. If they were actually able to beat Detroit I don't care, in Philly or Detroit, and find their way into the Super Bowl, I would be a little surprised. I ain't gonna lie. I would be surprised. But based off what happened on Sunday against the Steelers, that people are completely overhyping, over-evaluating, rejoicing that win over a team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's face it, guys. I mean, I know there's a conversation to be made whether it was the Eagles that did this to the Steelers that made them play so subparly, or was it the fact that the Steelers are just not a good football team? I mean, you can make the conversation back and forth. And I'm going to sit here and tell you that I don't have nothing to base it off of because I didn't spend much time at all watching Pittsburgh Steelers football. I don't. But 10-3 was their record, right, coming into this game. And I know you can't fault the Steelers for being 10-3. That's what their record said they were. But you look at last season when the Eagles were 10-1, that they weren't a 10-1 team. They weren't. And we saw what happened to the Eagles down the stretch. But so 10-3 were the Steelers coming in here. But I didn't see a 10-3 team play the Eagles. I saw an offense that was completely one-layered to a running attack, and Russell Wilson trying to conjure up magic, any bit that he has left, like the old man from the old winter wizard from the Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoon with his beans. He had only a couple left, and he's trying to conjure up some magic there. I saw a team that couldn't tackle on defense. I didn't see a very good football team play the Eagles on Sunday. And yeah, again, you can make the conversation that it was not the Eagles. It wasn't that. It was the way the Eagles made them look. I understand you can make that conversation, but I look at the Najee Harris fumble down by the goal line in the second half. That had nothing to do with the Eagles. Absolutely nothing. That was miscommunication between running back and quarterback. That was the team not being prepared to handle that play. It had nothing to do with what the Eagles were throwing against the Steelers. The fact that the Eagles committed 2 turnovers, handed the Steelers gifts throughout the first 8 minutes of this game in turnovers, and the Steelers were only able to convert 3 points out of those turnovers. Now, can you make a case that it was the Eagle defense that was the big course of action there? Yes. But there were still a couple of penalties down there inside the 20-yard line from the Steelers that pushed them back a little bit, that killed that second drive off the second turnover. And that really had nothing to do with the Eagle defense. And then, of course, the 10-minute, 30-second drive at the end of the game that the Eagles used to kill it. That was that the Eagles? Was it? Because what I saw through that whole sequence, that whole 10 minutes and 30 seconds, was a team that was playing in prevent mode and a team that couldn't tackle. I mean, it was terrible. I don't think the Eagles threw the ball. They maybe threw the ball 3 times that entire 10-minute span, where they just ran it. So I don't want to take credit away from what the Eagles did, and I'm not going to take complete credit away from what the Eagles are in 2024. They're definitely better than I thought they were, and I'll admit to that. But I'm not buying the 12-2. I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl champion. I don't. I still think there's problems with the coaching, there's problems with the quarterback, and ultimately there's problems with that offense that I don't think that the Eagles are going to be able to overcome this season. Now, heading into next season, do they have to address some problems on that offense? Yes. Some personality issues? Yes. If you can get a real coach in here, yeah, maybe we have something. The defense is a young up-and-coming unit who has stepped up considerably in 2024. There's something to work with the defense. The question lies in the offense, and not necessarily with the skill positions, but with the most important skill position, that's the quarterback. I don't think he's the right quarterback, and I don't think it's the right head coach moving forward either. So we talked about this last night. The Eagles combined, the record of the Eagles' opponents this season, at this point of the season, is 88-107. That is the combined record of all the teams the Eagles have played so far in 2024, and to include the 3 remaining teams, because the Eagles have already played the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants once. So 88-107 is the combined record of the teams the Eagles have played. There's no doubt that the Eagles' schedule was a little easier this year than it was last year. The combined record of the 3 elite teams in this league, Kansas City, Detroit, and Buffalo, is 36-6. Winning percentage close to 90%. Jalen Hurts had a bounce-back game on Sunday, a lot say. I say that bounce-back game was an aberration. I say it was a concoction manufactured by the coaching staff to show either the fans, the national media, or a combination of both, that Jalen Hurts that there was nothing wrong with the passing attack. I think it was a fabrication. I don't think it was a legitimate game plan against the Steelers. I think it was more to show people that Jalen Hurts could play quarterback at a high level in this league. And for 75% of the game, it worked. I go back to that first drive. Hurts was dealing, man, coming out smoking. Everything was timing. Everything was delivered with precision inside windows. It was good, but it did not maintain. It dipped considerably in that game. He started holding on to the football. He started going back to his old ways. And the playbook, once again, was closed down. There's not enough being talked about the playbook. There's not enough right now being talked about Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts not running the full complement of Kellen Moore's playbook. He's not. And we all know he's not. Now, the Eagle fans, the homers, the slobbering homers, have stopped talking about that because, again, that doesn't fit their narrative that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback, which I always maintain it's okay if he's not an elite quarterback. It's okay. It's not okay that we're paying him as an elite quarterback and he's not, but it's okay, organically that he's not an elite quarterback. We could win a Super Bowl feasibly with him not being an elite quarterback. But for some odd reason, he needs to be elite. These Eagle Homer fans he needs to be an elite quarterback. We need to have an elite quarterback in the Philadelphia Eagles. For some odd reason, these troglodytes need to know that they have an elite quarterback in charge of their team. Is it to justify the contract that he was given by Howie Roseman? Is it to justify the $1.6 million a game check he makes? Is it to justify all those things, or is it to just for the Eagles slobbering Homer fan to think we're okay and there's nothing to see here? We're not that type of franchise. We have elite quarterback. I say we don't have an elite quarterback. Matter of fact, when was the last time, if any, the Eagles have had an elite quarterback? Great question. I mean, Carson Wentz wasn't. Donovan wasn't. Rodney Pete wasn't. The Detmer boys weren't. Randall was kind of. Randall was an innovative quarterback. Randall was a revolutionary quarterback. No one had really seen a Randall Cunningham, but was he an elite quarterback? When I think of elite, I think of Joe Montana, Dan Marino, John Elway. I think of Tom Brady. I think of those types of quarterbacks. You know what I mean? And we have never had one of those. Steve Young, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, for a very long period of his career, was an elite quarterback. Peyton Manning. Those are elite quarterbacks. We have never had one of those, and we don't have one of those now. But that's okay. Again, it's not a prereq to win a Super Bowl. It's not. You need a complete team to win a Super Bowl. Now, granted, the four teams, or the three, I should say, that are standing in the Eagles' way of winning a Super Bowl all have a serious conversation about having an elite quarterback. Pat Mahomes is an elite quarterback, and he's got the hardware to back it up. Josh Allen is an elite quarterback, and he's dying to get that hardware. Jared Goff is an interesting one. If the Lions do win the Super Bowl this year, if they find their way to a Super Bowl championship, with all the stuff that has dogged Goff throughout his career, do you have a conversation with Jared Goff as an elite quarterback? I don't think you do. But can you make a conversation as he's an elite quarterback, especially if it's the offense, which puts up, what did I say yesterday? Well, I wrote it down. I don't have it anymore. I should have wrote it down somewhere permanently. But they're scoring points, like I think the 80-some points in the last 3 games. I mean, or is it over 100 points in the last? It's a lot of points. Is there a conversation made about Jared Goff being an elite quarterback? But again, it doesn't matter. I don't get wrapped around those axles about elite quarterbacks because it's not a prereq to win a Super Bowl. You need to have a complete team to win a Super Bowl. We've seen many instances throughout NFL history of non-elite quarterbacks winning Super Bowls. Now, the dynasties always seem to have elite quarterbacks. That was Troy Aikman an elite quarterback? I mean, or was he a product of the team that he played around? I mean, you can make a conversation. I think a lot of people think Troy Aikman's probably one of the worst comparisons to an elite quarterback in the history of the game. They tend to think that Troy Aikman benefited greatly with Michael Irvin, Emmett Smith, those players that was around him and made him a lot better. Jay Novacek, Darryl Johnson. God, there's some good players. So, but my point is, you don't need to have an elite quarterback, but we are so one-sided here in this town. We have a portion of the fan base in this town that needs to go to bed at night thinking we have an elite quarterback. And if you don't subscribe to that line of thought, if you don't believe in that line of thought, you're considered a non-fan, an outsider, a Negadelphian, insert adjectives here. You're not considered part of the tribe. You're considered, they're blaming the media now for concocting every negative story that comes out of this team. It's always the media's fault. It's not the team at all. The team is completely innocent. Right? And then Jalen Hurts, after a season of struggles, let's face it, the first 4 games of the season, he was terrible. They decided to revamp the entire offense to not put him in a situation where he has to win games. And they go run heavy for the next 9 to 10 weeks. And it's successful. Your star wide receiver has a hissy fit and a tantrum about him not getting his. They come out with a purposeful pass-heavy attack against the Steelers with no rhyme or reason around it other than to show the people of either Philadelphia, the National Football League, of the world, whoever they wanted to show, that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown were, 1, okay, and 2, that Jalen Hurts could throw the football and be and win a game with his arm, which he didn't do, but he was effective, right? He was effective. And now we're crowning Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback based off of 1 game out of what, 14? 1 game out of 14, we're crowning him an elite quarterback because he played well for 1 game out of 14. Makes no sense to me, man. It doesn't. And I don't get that line of thinking. So as we move into this stretch run of the season, as we get ready for the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants to wrap things up in a full speed ahead matchup with potentially the Detroit Lions, with it all on the line in the NFC, the question now goes back to Jalen Hurts. It's going to go back to Jalen Hurts. And I mentioned this last night. Jalen came out on that post-game show or a post-game press conference on Sunday like he was like, I don't even know. I had a hard time trying to articulate what that attitude that this is what you want, or what did he say? Did I show you something like that? Now on this morning on the Get Up program on ESPN, I got to play this because I think it's hilarious. They picked up on it too, and here's what they had to say about it.
One more take from Neek. The last one. Jalen Hurts is benefiting from pretty privilege. Because he got up on that the press conference after the game, and he acted like he was Josh Allen. Look at this man with his Kangol, looking like Nino Brown.
New Jack City, baby. I'm my brother's keeper. Yes, I am.
We're all with $3,000 million trillion worth of diamonds on his neck, and he acted like he just went for 400 yards for 3 weeks in a row. Man, you had 1 good week passing, and everyone forgets it when he started batting his eyes at you. I could see Graziano in the meeting got all uncomfortable. Was like, I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, no, how do you deny it? I mean, look at him. Like, who would you rather have?
Yeah, courtesy of the Get Up program on ESPN, Dominique Foxworth. That was hilarious. Nino friggin' Brown, you my brother's keeper. Nino! Yeah, he did kind of have that Nino Brown thing. Like, all he was missing was the dog and Tisha. That was all he was missing. And Dutterman. I mean, if he brought the whole, and G-Money, he should have brought the whole crew out there. But that's right. That's all he was missing, man. Looking like 1991 all up on that stage. I agree 100%. And to me, that's arrogance. To me, that's not professional, man. That's Bush League stuff. The bottom line is Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. He's a good to a little bit above average quarterback. Tell me what Jalen Hurts has won in his career up to this point. Tell me what Jalen Hurts has done to entrench himself into the conversation of being an elite quarterback. I want to know, because in the big stages that I know Jalen Hurts has been on, he's turtled up. He quit, Alabama after being benched in a national championship game, right? He played his ass off in Super Bowl in 22. He did, but he didn't do enough. He didn't do enough against an elite quarterback. Now, you can blame the sod father, you blame the holding penalties, you blame everything you want, but the bottom line was he didn't do enough. Pat Mahomes did enough. That's the bottom line. And elite quarterbacks, they do enough. So what has Jalen Hurts won in his career to garner all this attention? He's won a bunch of regular season games. Well, so is his head coach. Are you calling Nick Sirianni an elite coach? What has he done? What has he won? It all comes down to the wins. It all comes, no, not the wins. It all comes down to the one win. The one win. The big one. The Super Bowl. And if the Eagles find their way into the Super Bowl in 2024-25 and they lose, what is the legacy of the season? A success, a failure, or a success with a lot of subplots, which more than likely will be what Eagles fans will gravitate towards. We won't go to success or fail. We'll go to, it was a great season, but we didn't win the Super Bowl. We had this, we had that, we had this, we had that. It won't go success or failure. And what's really concerns me is as I have said multiple times, and I will continue to say this, until they decide to pull off the Band-Aid and get rid of the clown show, that entire clown show of a head coach who requires a oversized, overweight, musclehead, meathead to protect him on the sidelines, for God's sakes. Until they pull the bandage off on that, get rid of both Fat Dom and Nick Sirianni. Until they decide to get rid of him, and then, God willing, fire Howie Roseman. Until all that is done, and I've actually gone out on a limb lately and said, I wouldn't be too upset if Jeff Lurie sold the team either. I wouldn't be. But I'll take the firing Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman as a start. But until we do that and bring in football people here who care about winning football games and not being a headline or being a story or being drama, we're never going to achieve the potential that we could, even with the team that we have that's in so many different ways trending in the right direction. And I firmly believe that. We have a clown as a head coach, you got a fraud as a GM, and you have a average to slightly above average quarterback, which is fine. You can win with that. But with those other factors involved, and when you play a schedule this season, as I mentioned, and I'll say it again, and I want to keep saying it, the combined record of the Eagles teams they have played in 2024 is 88 and 107. Almost 20 games under 500 is the combined record of all the Eagle opponents this season, to include the last three that they had left to play because they've already played them. 88 and 107, right? The combined record of the big three, Detroit, Buffalo, and KC, is 36 and 6. 49% winning percentage with the record of the teams the Eagles have played versus a 97% winning percentage against the teams that the Eagles are going to have to play, at least one or two of them, at least, to win a Super Bowl. Is this smoke and mirrors? I don't honestly think with, the Baltimore game, yeah, I'll give you that one. Baltimore was a legit, in my opinion, Super Bowl opponent, and the Eagles handled them. Pittsburgh wasn't. They weren't. And I bought in, and I thought heading into the game, a 10-3 Pittsburgh Steelers team was a great test. And I admit, I don't watch Pittsburgh Steelers football, not even a little bit. But what I saw on Sunday was not a 10-3 football team. It was a bad football team. So Nino Brown, G-Money, Dutterman, it was Pookie, where's Scotty? Where's the whole crew? Can we make a whole cast of New Jack City as the Eagles this year? Who would you have playing those roles? Who is Scotty? Who's Scotty Appleton on the Eagles? But the Eagles getting the New Jack City comp by the Get Up program over at ESPN. Gman31 saying, let's go Mets. Are you saying let's go Mets because you're a Giants fan? Why don't you say let's go Giants? Listen, right now, if there was a trophy to be given out for the offseason, if there was a championship to be played for offseason moves, the paper champion, I would hard pressed to give it to anybody else but the Mets right now. That's a tight little roster that they're building. It's a tight little roster. And as I said at the top of the program, I don't understand where the Eagles fall anymore, or where the Phillies now fall in the National League East. I'm having a hard problem, coming to terms with the fact that the Phillies might be slightly above the Nationals in the NL East and about middle of the pack in the entire National League, based on so far the lack of movement the Phillies have done so far this offseason. But as we know, let's go Mets, or G-Man31. You don't play the game on paper. You play it on the season. And as Phillies fans will attest, you have to play the whole season, right? You can't base it off one half. You can't base it off 1 week. Can't base it off 3 months. You got to base it off 162 and the playoffs. So you might be right. Let's go Mets is definitely something to be concerned about here in a few months. Sorry, couldn't make it tonight doing God's work. Wink, wink. The hell does that mean? Doing God's work? Well, Al, whatever, man. You have a open invitation anytime you want here on the program. Al Zafiri. So getting back to the Eagles. Now, when you look at this game on Sunday with Jalen Hurts' effort, almost 300 yards passing, did have the turnover, the fumble, did have 2 touchdown passes, and did throw the ball officially 5 times to the middle of the field. 5 official. Now, there was a few that were middle of the field-ish. I would say they didn't go down in the books as official targeted at the middle of the field, but they were certainly more middle of the field than a lot of other passes the Eagles have done this season. So maybe 10 on the game that were targeted in the middle of the field area, but only 5 went down officially as being thrown towards the middle of the field. And thus far, through 14 games, the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts more specifically, has thrown 357 passes, and only 47 of them have been to the middle of the field area for 7.5% of the offense that Jalen Hurts uses to the middle of the field, which is not going to win you nothing in this league. I don't care who you are. I really don't. And that, to me, is because they don't trust Jalen Hurts to run the full complement of Kellen Moore's playbook. Ergo, they don't treat him like an elite quarterback because he can't run the full playbook. I mean, I don't know how more bottom line and boil down I can get with the whole Jalen Hurts thing right now. Somebody came on this program last night and tried to have me admit that Jalen Hurts is a top 3 quarterback in this league. That might be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my entire life. I would take about 7 quarterbacks now currently playing in the NFL over Jalen Hurts. Off the top of my head, they are as follows: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold. I would take Justin Herbert. I would take Jordan Love, right? I would take Bo Nix, and I would take trying to think around the league here. Who's my 10th quarterback? Do I have a 10th? I might only take 9. Okay, so I'll take 9 currently. 9 current quarterbacks playing in the NFL. 9 current starting quarterbacks I would take over Jalen Hurts today. 9. And Jaden Daniels, if it was offered to me. There you go. I knew there was a 10th one. And Jaden Daniels. 10. There's my 10 quarterbacks that I would take over Jalen Hurts today, who I think would give the Eagles a better chance of winning a Super Bowl than Jalen Hurts does. That's just me. And it's not because I hate Jalen Hurts. I don't know Jalen Hurts. How can I hate him? But right now, based on what I see through performance, potential, all those things, and the fact that, let's face it, Jalen's a loser when it comes to the big game. He got benched in the middle of the national championship game, and he lost the Super Bowl. Don't yell at me, yell at the facts. But anyway, turning the page because the Eagles now will get ready for the Commanders on Sunday, and we have you ready here on the network. Don't forget Thursday. Oh man, one day I'll have it down. Thursday ish. The Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn will be back. Me and Kyle, who was the producer of the midday show on 94 WIP, will break down the Eagles Commander game. We'll actually look back on the Steeler game one last time, and we'll break down the Eagle Commander game as the Eagles go for the NFC East, the title, to keep the streak going, where there will be no repeat division champions since the 04-05 Eagles. Or is it the 03-04 Eagles? What do you give that credence to? Is it 03-04? Yeah, let's go 03-04. So that was the last time the NFC East has had back-to-back division champions. It was 03-04, and the Eagles did it, and it's looking like that streak is going to continue this year as the Eagles are a deadlock, really, at this point to win the division. So Eagles Commanders on Sunday. Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. The quintessential Eagle pregame show will be airing some point on Thursday night-ish time frame. Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It's hit or miss sometimes with Kyle's schedule, but we'll get it in, as we always do, here on the network. Ooh, man, that was a lot. That was a lot talking about the Eagles, man. We definitely got into some Eagles talk. All right, let's move on to Flyers. And again, real quick, I'm just going to kind of overview the Flyers. That kind of quiet in Flyer land. There is some talk, though, about potential trade targets that the Flyers might be trying to do here as we get into the holiday break time frame. And if you're going to make a move in hockey, especially any kind of big move, like grandiose move, needle moving move, so to speak, the Christmas break, the All-Star break, those times, trade deadline, obviously, those times of the year are the best times to do it because you give players a little bit extra time to acclimate themselves to the system, to the team, what have you. And the Flyers are rumored potentially looking to upgrade, bring in a centerman. There's some names being floated around. Trevor Zegras was one of those names. He's been rumored to be with the linked to the Flyers for a few years now, as the Flyers look to try to, anchor down the center position a little bit, as they truly are lacking in any talent in the center position. I, of course, was lambasted on the Anthony Gargano show for mentioning the idea of a trade, which, again, that shows you the level of knowledge that Anthony Gargano has in hockey. But that's okay. We'll give the Cuz a break. He's an old guy. He doesn't know what he's talking half the time. But there's a potential trade coming down the line here for the Flyers. Hopefully, there's some rumors persisting that they might make a move. Flyers are getting ready to start a stretch of 4 games in 6 nights, starting tomorrow night in Detroit. And they'll go back-to-back tomorrow night in Detroit, Thursday night at home against LA, and then on Saturday, home against Columbus, and then on Monday in Pittsburgh to wrap up their pre-holiday, before the holiday break. And then they'll come out of that holiday break out on the West Coast on another West Coast trip, the traditional Southern California New Year's West Coast trip, as they usually take it every year. The trip that they took every year as a kid that made you feel so cool that you could stay up and watch hockey at 10:30 at night, Flyers and Kings, or Flyers and I guess back in my day, it was Flyers, Kings, Flyers, Canucks. I mean, there was no Ducks when I was a kid, but that trip is happening here in about 2 weeks. So the Flyers will be back at it tomorrow night. Still going with the 3-goalie tandem, 3-goalie situation. It's not a tandem. That would mean 2, but Fedotov, Urson, and Kolosov are still all on the active roster. John Tortorella was actually asked about that today after practice, and he said that the main reason why he's keeping it still the 3 of them is because of Sam Urson and his health and his health concerns. So I found that very interesting too. It wasn't necessarily through play or performance, but it's keeping an eye on the durability of Sam Urson at this point. So, but at some point, something's got to give. If there's any position in hockey that players need to play, it's goalie. And if the Flyers are going to carry, they can't carry 3 goalies forever. They got to send somebody down. Someone's got to get reps in Lehigh. Someone's got to play. So I would imagine within the next, couple, 3 weeks, a move's going to have to be made here with that. But Flyers will get revved up tomorrow night in Detroit against the Red Wings, and then at home on Thursday, a back-to-back against the Kings. And here on the It's a Wrap Sports, we got you covered all the way through. This is your Clear the Ice schedule for the week. Tomorrow is Sal, Thursday is Sal, and I got you on Saturday. And on Saturday, when I get you with the Blue Jacket game, that'll be the first game of the rest of the year for me. I am on every other game in the month of December. So I have the Blue Jacket game, the Penguins game, and the entire West Coast trip over New Year's, over the Christmas New Year break. So it's going to be all MattyB all the time on Clear the Ice for the rest of the year. So I hope you're ready for that. More importantly, I hope I'm ready for that. But I can't wait. It's going to be fun. And with that being said, let's get into our of the night segment here as we're rolling through the show. Let's do it. All right, this is the of the night segment. This is the part of the show where we take a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, a Flyers potential draft target, a Phillies potential draft target, a Phillies spotlight player, a Flyers spotlight player, and we just spend a few minutes talking about them. And it's been tipped heavily towards the Flyers over the past few months, of course, because it's been, well, it's hockey season. And there's nothing really much to talk about with baseball yet. But that's going to change, of course, here very soon. The big news, of course, here with the It's a Wrap Sports Network is that on December 26th, we're going international, baby. That's right. The It's a Wrap Sports Network is headed to Ottawa, Canada to cover the 2025 International Ice Hockey Federation's World Junior Championships. We will be bringing you the coverage from that event, talking about some of the Flyer prospect players that are currently playing for their countries, and more importantly, the potential NHL draft targets that will come out of this tournament, as they'll all be on display in the 2-week, 10-day tournament that occurs annually starting the day after Christmas. This year it's in Ottawa, and this year we will be there. So we're looking forward to that. Been getting a bunch of emails about that lately, about picking up accreditation, picking up credentials and all that. So we're getting ready to get that thing kicked off, and I cannot wait. But once we get through that tournament, meaning i.e. once we get to the other side of December, once we get to 2025, we will begin to focus more on both Flyer prospects, NHL draft targets, MLB draft targets, Philly spotlight players. So we're going to go for all of them starting in January, basically. Basically, by the time January is over, we'll be highlighting all of those things, probably one each a night, as we try to keep track of all that. And then in April, we'll go to we'll start spotlighting the Phillies prospects. So we're not going to do Phillies prospects in January. Not yet. We're going to wait until the dust settles through spring training, find out where these kids land to start the season, and then go from there. But starting in January, though, we will start focusing on NHL draft targets, MLB draft targets, and Philly spotlight players as we're revving up the baseball season. Can you believe that the college Division I baseball season begins on Valentine's Day? Not spring training. They don't have spring training. They start playing on February 14th, Division I NCAA baseball. Can you believe that? It's coming, man. It's coming. And it's great. That means summer's coming. That means we're getting ready to get back into the warm weather. So you can't stop time. You cannot stop the march of progress. But let's talk about our prospect of the night. It is a Flyers prospect, and let's bring him up now. It's another one of our little projects that we have here in the organization. It is Santeri Saluku, the left wing / centerman who plays currently for the Metist of the IPK. Is it Switzerland? No, it's not Switzerland. Denmark, I believe, a Denmark team, a Danish league team. He is 6'4", 201 pounds, drafted in the 7th round of the 2022 NHL draft by the Flyers. His open ice playmaking game is probably his best asset. He added an impressive primary assist off the rush, hitting a teammate on the back post with a hard pass after kind of faking the shot first. It was good stuff. So Elite Prospects is going right to the well on him, trying to dig up something on this guy, and they're so desperate that they brought up a play that he committed or that he made earlier this season, actually. So Santiri is a project kid, 7th rounder in 2022. I like the build, 6'4", 201. Obviously, that's a 4th line centerman. If I ever saw one, he would look nice anchoring that 4th line of the future for the Flyers. And when I say the future, I mean the future, as he's probably about 5 to 7 years away from even sniffing Philadelphia. But it's good to see that the Flyers have a kid that size with that skill set and that position group stashed away somewhere in the minors or somewhere, not in the minors, but in the system. And it's good to see that we can potentially draw upon a kid like that later on. But project, absolutely. You don't pick players in the 7th round as touchdowns. You pick them as projects, and he is definitely fits the bill as a project player. But 6'4" and 201 pounds, I will take him. And currently, for him this year, he is 7 games through his season, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points, and an impressive +5. So putting some offense to his game this year so far for the Matisse IPK, the Matisse team in the IPK. So there you have it. There's the Flyers spotlight player of the night, or your project player, prospect player, project player, same thing. Santiri Saluku. And good luck, young man. We need you. I need me a 6'4", 200-pound center. Oh, yeah. I could definitely do it, one of those. But there you have our of the night segment. It was a Flyers prospect, Santiri Saluku. Now let's get to the best part of our show, and it's not waking up. Best part of our program, and here we go.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
What?
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, you have landed smack dab into the MattyB card review segment of our program. This is our segment every night where we take one of my very many cards from my vast sports card collection and we kick it around a bit. We talk the financial value, the nostalgic value, the intrinsic value, or just the value of collecting sports cards that I have done throughout my entire life, off and on, and just recently was able to organize my entire collection. And now I have the fun privilege of pulling cards out every night and talking about them. And we're going to go from obscure cards to slam dunk cards. And tonight we're back to football. And we're doing an Eagles card, the first Eagles card we've done on this program ever. And it is absolutely my favorite Eagles card because you know why? Not this card specifically, but this player specifically was the very first Eagle card I ever opened up or tore out of a pack when I was a little kid in like 1980. And I remember the day vividly. So let's talk about tonight's player. Tonight's card is, drum roll. I don't have one of those. I need a drum roll, man. Where is it? Here we go. It is the 1983. Wow, that's blurry. The 1983 Topps Ron Jaworski card. As I said, this is not the card that this is not my very first Eagles card. It's not. But Jaworski was, and it was from the 80 Topps set. And I don't know if you guys remember 80 Topps. It was, I don't know, they must not have had a deal with the league in place because all the helmets of all the players from the, if you ever find an 80 pack of Topps football cards, there's no logos on the helmets. They're all solid colors. Like the Eagles helmet would be just green. I'm not kidding you. The entire collection is like that. Now, I should probably do the research and why it was like that. I imagine it has something to do with licensing and copyright type stuff, but that's the way it was. But this particular card is the 83 Jaworski. Jaworski was and is a very sought after football card. This card right now, I found it in a database, in a reputable card database for $55. Geez, $55 for this card. Now, the card I saw was not graded, but it looked very clean. It looked very crisp, and it was rated and valued at about $55. But then again, I've also found this card as low as 75 cents. So it really kind of, I guess, as with a lot of these cards and a lot of this business, it is based on how much the buyer actually wants the card. Um, but it's a smart card. I missed this Eagle uniform. I missed this Eagle color combination. This is I guess this is kind of Kelly green. It's not really Kelly green, but it's right before the Kelly green era. You can kind of see a Kelly green influence here as the Eagles, I think, switched. Was it 86, 85 they switched? But this was towards the end of the era of them wearing this type of uniform. But this is a cool looking card, man. I don't know. It just reminds me of my childhood, this card. It straight up reminds me of my childhood. So there you have it. Tonight's card was the 83 Topps Ron Jaworski, and here it is in its physical form. Now, this card specifically has a little tear, especially around the edges and the top part of it. I have actually listed this card recently on eBay for about $2. Again, I don't think I could get 54 for it because it's got some wear and tear around the top, but it's in relatively good shape. So financial windfall from this card. Yeah, I don't know. I guess. I mean, you're not going to buy an island, but for your 35-cent investment back in 1983, yeah, you'll make some money off this card. Matter of fact, you'll make money off all the cards that you bought back in 1983 if you took care of them. But there you have it. Tonight's card of the night, the 83 Topps Ron Jaworski, and boom, there it is in the books. Wow. All right. So before I sign off, before we say goodnight, because we do have one more thing to talk about, but before I do that, I want to thank everybody for joining in. I want to thank all the people here at DS Rap Sports Network for making this possible. I want to thank all of you out there for making this possible, as well as we are continuing to grow this network. So please, I beg you, and I beg you in the most dignified way I can beg somebody, like and subscribe, smash the bell, click on the notification thing, do all those great things to support us as we move through this endeavor. And we try to inspire. And our intent here, and this is the company's mission statement, straight up, right? We want to be the first 24/7, 365-day digital sports talk radio station in the world. We want to take what they've done on terrestrial radio and bring it to the internet. That's what I'm working for. That's what I've been working for about the last 4 years. And that's what I will continue to work for until I have no more breath left in my body. So please help us reach that goal as we strive to do it. And here on the network, we're growing every day, getting bigger and better every day. So before I say goodnight, we have to talk about the MattyB top 10 all-time Christmas movie list. We are up to number 5. Let's recap our bottom 5. Number 10, It's a Wonderful Life. Number 9, any version of the Christmas Carol. Number 8 is Elf. Number 7, The Santa Claus. Number 6, Scrooged. And yes, I'm not considering, or I don't count Scrooge as a version of the Christmas Carol. I count it as an offshoot, a completely different rendition of the story, right? I think it's masterful comedy. It's extremely original in my opinion. So that leads me to my number 5 movie of all time. A movie that has not aged well. It has not aged well. It has definitely changed the way, as you get older, you look at this movie a little bit differently. But when this came out, I was about 18 or 19 years old, and it blew my mind because I thought it was funny. I thought it was smart. I thought it was hip. I thought it was, revolutionary when it came to Christmas movies. So without further ado, here you go. Here's my number 5 all-time favorite Christmas movie of MattyB's top 10. Number 5.
how'd you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
I'm up here, you morons! Come and get me. You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Heads up! Don't worry, Marv, I'll get him for you. Yes.
He's only a kid, Harry. We can take him.
Oh, shut up, will you?
Oh,
What is it?
you're missing some teeth.
Where? That's my gold tooth. My gold tooth. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. You found me with one more can cake, and I'll snap up your cojones and boil them in motor oil.
911 emergency.
Oh, my house is being robbed. My address is 656 Lincoln Boulevard. My name's Murphy.
All right, there you have it. Home Alone. That's right. Home Alone is my number 5 all-time Christmas movie. My all-time favorite Christmas movie. Again, it has not aged well. Looking back on it now at 51, there's a lot of inaccuracies about the film. I get it, but just the at the time when it came out, when I was 18 or 19, I forget how I was, on 19 maybe. It was so revolutionary. It was so new, the way they were going at the whole Christmas genre, the whole Christmas movie genre. It was kind of a hip idea, and I thought it was very funny. And I still think it's funny to this day, but the sequels stink. And of course, as we move through, as you watch it over and over again, it's a little unbelievable. But for some odd reason, when I was 19, it made sense. I was like, you know what? That could happen, man. A kid could get left home alone with like 9 kids. Yeah, it could happen. But there you have it. My number 5 all-time favorite Christmas movie, Home Alone. And now joins the list. And tomorrow we'll crack the top 4 as we are going all the way to number 1. So you got to stay tuned and see what number 1 is. It might boggle your mind. It might amaze you. It might not. You'll have to see. So there you have it. MattyB's top 5. My 5th all-time favorite Christmas movie, Home Alone. Joining It's a Wonderful Life. I say Elf. No, It's a Wonderful Life. Any version of the Christmas Carol. Elf, the Santa Claus, Scrooged, and now Home Alone. So there you have it. All right, that is going to take me to the very end of the program tonight. I want to thank everybody for contributing and tuning in and staying with me tonight. We went over a litany of stuff. We went back over the hot stove, some more movements around Major League Baseball. Big story today. Well, 2 big stories. The Max Fried contract was ratified by the Yankees. He passed his physical. He is now a Yankee for the next 8 years. Cody Bellinger is now on his way to New York as well to join the Yankees, as he was traded from the Cubs today. Cody Bellinger was not, I repeat, not a free agent. I just want you guys to remember he was a trade target, as the Yankees are trying to reload after losing Juan Soto. The Phillies continue to stay quiet and stay, well, let's face it, like it was the night before Christmas in Dave Dombrowski's house, and not a creature was stirring, and not even a mouse, because the Phillies are not doing anything. We went in a little bit more about how I do not believe. Yes, I believe the Eagles are a good football team. Yes, I believe the Eagles could legitimately find their way to the Super Bowl. But I don't think there's any way that the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I don't believe in the quarterback. I don't believe in the coach. And I don't believe in the philosophy of this team. And I feel that they will not win a Super Bowl. I talked about the combined record of all the Eagles opponents in 2024 being something around 87 and 107. 20 games under 500 is the combined record of all the opponents the Eagles have faced this year. I also talked about the combined record of the Bills, Chiefs, and Lions being 36 and 6. So if you want to get to the best, or if you want to be the best, I guess you're going to have to eventually play the best and beat the best. We also discussed our other night segment, which was a Flyers prospect, and our card of the night, Ron Jaworski, and of course, our top 5 Christmas movie, Home Alone, all within the last hour and 15 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you're checking me out tomorrow night. I'll be back at this very same time, 9 o'clock for It's a Wrap on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. The Final Word with MattyB. Until we talk again, have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow. We'll see you.
I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I go so yo. Everybody know I'm you know when it click through. Try to fix this and it's about to be a so big